Hello, and welcome to America. Let's talk about it. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the First Amendment and our rights to free speech. I have a question for you. Is free speech giving us the right to speak our minds, or are we using it as an excuse to disrespect one another? Today, we're asking the tough question. We all have the right to say what's on our mind. But my question is, when does that freedom begin to cross the line? Lately, I'm sure a lot of us have seen on the news several incidences where people have openly used racial slurs like the N word or deliberately disrespected others simply to provoke a reaction. Now, I understand that we all have bad days. Maybe you got into an argument with a loved one before leaving for work. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic. I know that's happened to me a few times. Maybe the fast food restaurant got your order wrong. And we've all had to deal with that at some point. Or a coworker gave us an attitude for no reason. All those situations can be frustrating and stressful. But here's my question. Does having a bad day give someone the right to take it out on everyone else? It seems that in 2026, the mindset has become, I can do or say whatever because I have the right. The reality is, you cannot do or say what you want. In fact, quote, freedom of speech is one of our most important rights, but with everyone's freedom comes personal responsibility. While we have broad protection to express our views, our words still have consequences, and how we choose to use that freedom says a lot about our character. The problem is, people don't seem to care about how their words affect others anymore. They don't seem concerned about insulting complete strangers or even saying hateful things around children. Sometimes it feels like we've lost a sense of basic humanity. We've seen examples of people intentionally walking around provoking others with racial slurs or making offensive comments after they were the ones who started the confrontation in the first place, which I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. I've seen this a lot where people are walking around intentionally video recording, provoking people, starting arguments, calling them out of name, and then turning around and calling the police on them, which is kind of crazy to me just to see in general. We also see young people openly disrespecting their elders, calling them names, and then trying to fight them as though they're the victims. On top of all of that, there are people who intentionally provoke police officers or other authority figures simply because they know their actions are protected by free speech. Now, I'm not sure what you guys think about, but go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section. Now, as I continue to think about some things, what's on my mind is what surprises me is that when someone finally reacts to this behavior, the person who started it every single time often claims to be the victim and calls the very people, the police, that they have disrespected. So, as I continue to move forward, let me ask a question. What has happened to us as a society? Why are we so caught up in the culture of entitlement? Since when did freedom become an excuse for acting without respect or responsibility? When I was growing up, we were taught to respect ourselves and respect others. Does anyone remember the saying, if you can't say anything at nice, don't say anything at all? Today it feels like you can't even enjoy a family outing without someone insulting another person simply because they believe freedom of speech gives them permission to do or say whatever. Now, don't get me wrong, I believe most adults are capable of having difficult conversations without being disrespectful. Unfortunately, it seems like respectful conversations are becoming harder to find. Social media has created a culture where people hide behind keyboards, insult strangers, and say outrageous things simply because controversy gets attention, views, and clicks. Now, have people become more sensitive? In my personal opinion, in some ways, yes. I believe we have become more sensitive. If you attend a comedy show, you expect comedians to push boundaries. That's part of the environment. It's entertainment, you guys, and entertainment should be fun. And people understand what they are walking into. To me, that's an example of free speech being used in an appropriate setting. The same goes for speaking at a school board meeting, addressing elected officials, participating in peaceful protests, or expressing your opinion on issues that matter to you. Which, I mean, a lot of us, we do that comfortably with family, friends, co-workers, even though maybe that's something we shouldn't do at work. But, where we're comfortable, we have these conversations to figure out what other people are thinking. And we definitely can't have those type of conversations without getting angry. But what I've noticed at the same time is there are exactly the kind of freedoms the First Amendment protects. Where I struggle is when freedom of speech becomes an excuse to direct hateful slurs or degrading language at someone because of their race, sex, ethnicity, religion, culture, or background. Another thing that troubles me is when people justify hateful speech by claiming they're speaking in the name of God. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but we have a lot of people walking around saying that they're Christians and that they love people, but yet they spew out hateful speech that doesn't come across to me as godlike. The thing is that I see is God believes in teaching love, compassion, forgiveness, and treating others the way we want to be treated. So, how do we reconcile hateful words with a message of love? I'm sure many of us have had conversations like this with friends or family members. Some of those conversations probably became uncomfortable. Maybe they even revealed opinions you never expected someone close to you to have. So let me ask you this. What would you do if you discovered that someone you loved held racist or bigoted beliefs? How would you change that relationship with them? Would you be comfortable hearing them use hateful language towards another person's race, sex, ethnicity, religion, or culture simply because they claim they have the freedom to do so? Here's where I stand. I am fully in support of freedom of speech. At the same time, I also believe that freedom does not remove personal responsibility. Just because someone chooses to behave badly doesn't mean I have to respond with violence. Someone else's poor choices should never control my own. One of the greatest lessons I learned through therapy is that no one can control my emotions unless I give them that power. Meaning that nobody can make me angry unless I allow them to make me angry. I have to exhibit self control. That is a lesson that I actually learned in therapy. I also learned that I have to take my own personal responsibility. And another thing that I've learned is I am responsible for my response, not someone else's behavior. When you truly understand that, life becomes much easier. Disrespectful people will always exist. There will always be someone trying to get a reaction. The question is, will you give them one? As I close today's conversation, I'd like to leave you with these thoughts. Freedom of speech is one of America's greatest freedoms, but freedom has never meant freedom from consequences. Words have power. They can build people up or they can tear people down. Every one of us has the right to choose which kind of person we want to be. Self-control is strength. Respect costs nothing. And loving our neighbors is still one of the greatest principles we have and can live by. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share the video with someone who might benefit from this discussion. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments section. Where do you believe the line is between free speech and personal responsibility? Until next time, I'm KC, and remember, America, let's talk about it.